Hey friends, Sleepy here. Welcome to a brand new episode of my weekly gaming playlist series. We've made it to another Friday, so it's time for the recap and talk about the games I played this week. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you guys played any of the games I shared with you today, let me know your thoughts on them. Maybe you enjoyed something about them, maybe it was something you didn't enjoy. I'm always interested in hearing about the games you guys are playing, as that gives me ideas of new games to play and experience. And I do appreciate all of your guys' recommendations. You guys have recommended some great games, and I do have a nice growing list of games to play for various consoles, so please keep those recommendations coming. I do appreciate them. I got a brand new game I just started this week. I actually started playing it last Friday. I had rented the game from GameFly, and I tested it out that night, and I really enjoyed the game, and so I decided to buy it, and so I bought it from GameFly, and they had a big sale going on right now, so I got it for a great price. And it's a game that's been on my radar for quite some time now, and that was Alan Wake 2, and this is the deluxe edition. Now, what's really cool is the physical copies automatically get you the deluxe edition. You don't have to buy the deluxe edition upgrade, because now when this game was first released, there was a regular version and there was a deluxe version, and it was only digital release game, and so I was really disappointed, and so I just said, I really don't like digital only titles, so I wasn't going to buy it, and I was hoping that eventually someday they would release a physical copy. There was enough demand for it from fans that they did release a physical copy. However, it is kind of a smaller print run, as there's not as many physical copies out there as other games, and so I was waiting to find it for a good deal, and now I finally was able to get it. Plus, I'm happy to announce that they have patched out a lot of issues. They've ironed out a lot of bugs and stuff that people were encountering when this game was first launched. So that's really awesome. Another thing I want to warn you too is this game is massive on the Xbox Series X with 103 gigs. So that's a hefty size game. It took a little over an hour to get installed, but I have been having an absolute blast playing through it because I'm a huge fan of Alan Wake. I love the original Alan Wake. I love Alan Wake's American Nightmare, and I was super excited to start playing Alan Wake 2 because it is a direct sequel to Alan Wake 1. I highly recommend do not play this one until you play number 1, or you're going to be lost when it comes to the stuff in the story elements, because it is a direct sequel to Alan Wake 1. Read you guys from the back. Blazes trails and video game storytelling. Sam Anderson, an accomplished FBI agent, arrives to investigate a string of ritualistic murders in a small town community. Alan Wake, a lost writer, pens a dark story to shape the reality around him. These two heroes in two separate realities are somehow connected. Can they break out to be the heroes they need to be? So at the end of the original Alan Wake game, Alan Wake gets stuck in the dark present. And so you actually play as dual protagonists. You play as Saga Anderson, she's an FBI agent, but you also play as Alan Wake, and you're able to freely switch between the two as you get through the story. Eventually, there's a save room where you can switch between the two characters and go through the various chapters that they have, which I think is really cool. I really have been enjoying the new character of Saga. I've really liked seeing her perspective in the story, and just just different viewpoint, and then seeing Alan's viewpoint as well, and how the two stories mingle together. Really awesome. It's got amazing graphics, awesome voice acting, just fantastic game overall. I've been having a lot of fun. It's a great story game. Now, this is a survival horror game. It's not like an action game where Alan Wake 1 was more about, running around and killing all the Taken and going from point A to point B. This is a much slower game. There wasn't even combat for me for the first almost 3 hours till I actually got to where my first encounter with actual enemies, and I really do enjoy the game. Heavy focus on the story. Now, you guys know I don't want to ruin stories, so I won't go into too much detail. There are some really cool songs in the game, and there's a musical part of the game that you get to go through as Alan Wake towards the middle of the game, which is where I'm at, and I just completed that section, and that was by far my favorite section of this. There's also 113 different collectibles to find, so there's several different guides that I'm using, because there's different kinds of things for you to collect in the world, and they all help your characters. You don't have to go through and get the collectibles, but getting it helps Saga, and there's collectibles for Alan Wake that also makes him stronger, and you're able to upgrade weapons and stuff, because there's a variety of those to find, so I highly recommend doing that extra stuff. Plus, there's the DLCs that I get to play after I beat the main story. In this game, you're looking to play through the story a good 25, 30 or more hours, especially if you're trying to do everything. And then what's cool is post-launch, they've actually added a New Game Plus mode, which adds another ending to the game, but you have to beat the game normally, and then you can play through it on New Game Plus mode. And then, of course, you have your 4 difficulty levels like the original Alan Wake, and I'm playing it just on normal, and even that has been challenging as I've died several times. There's some boss battles and stuff. It's just a really fantastic game, so let's check out some of Alan Wake 2. Alright friends, today we're playing Alan Wake 2. Now this has been on my most wanted to play list for years. It's even been on my list before this game was even announced or created, as I was a huge fan of the original Alan Wake. I beat it multiple times. I even beat the DLC for it. I beat it on the hardest difficulty. I bought the remastered version on Xbox One, beat that on there. I also beat it on the hardest difficulty, and then I beat all the DLC on the remastered version as well. I even downloaded the Alan Wake's American Nightmare, which is an Xbox Live Arcade on the 360, played and beat that, and just absolutely loved it. And so I was super excited when they finally created Alan Wake 2. I saw the video that Sam Lake had released, saying that he was working on the Alan Wake 2 project, and that was just super exciting for me. I was a little bummed out, though, when the game first launched because it did not come out physically. It was digital only, and I'm a real big fan of physical copies, and so I just said, you know, I'm not going to play the game unless they release a physical version, as much as I really wanted to play it. And I really held to my guns, and then eventually, a year later, they did release a physical version, and I had to wait a little longer than that to find myself a copy for a good deal, which I recently got from GameFly for like 50-some bucks, so I thought that was a really good price for this. And what's great is the physical version comes with a free upgrade to the Digital Deluxe Edition, which gets you all the DLC. So you get the 2 expansions, Night Springs, the Lake House, so that's more story stuff for you to play. You also get cosmetic stuff for the 2 characters, because you play as Saga. She's an FBI agent. She's in the real world. And then you also play as Alan Wake, who is in the dark world, the darkness, the dark place. And the DLC gives you extra things, like you play as a celebrity suit, you can play as classic, so Alan Wake from the first game, or you can have his default suit, which he is in the game. And so I like that there's some skins and stuff for you to get. And as you play through the game, you'll unlock new weapons, but you'll also unlock additional skins you can use thanks to the DLC that you have with the Digital Deluxe Edition, which is cool. Got a great option menu here, so much stuff for you to tweak, just a lot of options here, tons of things for you to adjust based on your own tastes on stuff. You can even turn on infinite ammo or something if you want to, if you find the game too difficult, which I think is great. It has an option there for anybody, so anyone, maybe they're not as skilled in these kind of games, you know, you can tweak it to play however you want to. You have the 4 different difficulty settings with your story, your normal, hard, and then the nightmare difficulty, which I do want to beat this game on nightmare once I finally beat this on the normal mode. But when I first play these games, you want to just play it normally as it is. So I'm going to load into an older save. I'm currently 6 hours in, and I've made it to playing as Alan Wake. But I'm going to show you guys playing as Saga here. I have an old save where I was real early in the game. Here we go, this one. Now the game does look absolutely beautiful on 4K, in my 4K TV here playing on Series X. This was a next-gen only title, so you have to have a Series X or PS5 to play this. The game looks absolutely beautiful and gorgeous in this. I really love it. Reminds me a lot of like the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, as far as how like the control scheme is.
Making progress.
Is what it really feels like to me compared to how the original Alan Wake was, so it is a little bit different play style. It's also not an action horror game. Like, if you played the original Alan Wake, you know, there's a lot of action, fighting, and killing and stuff. This is a survival horror game, so it's a bit slower pace. There's not as much combat. It's not non-stop combat all the time. Sometimes, you're going to run from enemies and stuff. But there's also a lot of puzzles and stuff for you to solve. Now, another thing that's really cool is because you're playing as an FBI agent, you actually are able to work on solving crimes and cases during the story. And you're able to go to this place called the Mind Place, which I'm going to push the button. And now this is a digital world in her mind, so she's not really actually here, but this is just like a physical representation in her mind of a room here of her working on solving crimes and memories and stuff here. It just also keeps track of your collectibles and stuff. And I gotta warn you, while you're in this world here, you are not safe. The game is not paused. You're right here. So if you were to go here in this room, and there was an enemy there, they could kill you while you're here. So the game does not pause. You have to hit the pause button to actually physically pause it. So just be aware of that, because that can definitely get you into some trouble if you're not careful. But here's really cool stuff where you can go to like your storyboard, keep track of your map, which is great. So you will find maps just like you do in other games like Silent Hill and stuff. Resident Evil, you have to find maps. Your case board just keeps track of your cases you're working on. And what's cool is when you find new clues as you're investigating, you actually will place them on the board. And you got to figure out where they get placed at.
Is Witch's Ladle the doorway into the overlap? If so, that's where I'll find Nightingale.
So another interesting thing is, if you find out something like before you locate the clue yourself, like how I did there, and you piece it together on your own, it'll then create those little these little black pages to let you know that, like, oh, you already discovered information on your own, and so it'll put it there for you, which is pretty cool. So this is where you keep track of all your stuff. Manuscript pages, so just like in the original Alan Wake game, you have to find manuscript pages that narrate the story. There's also this cool profiling thing that she does, where when you meet characters, you can do profiles on them, so I'll give you a little example of that.
The Bookers were at Cauldron Lake. Why?
The Prince was built to hide what's there. They say the rider fell in the lake.
Private party. No trespassing.
My book has questions. Past the bolt cutters.
They broke in for the sake of Tammy's book. Nothing to do with a murder. They were telling the truth.
So I think that's pretty cool. So since she's an FBI profiler, she's able to profile people and then give you idea of what's going on in her mind. It can help you with solving stuff. There's radio stuff you can find. There's music in the game. After each chapter, a different song unlocks. You can come here and listen to it when you want to. There's television stuff. You can watch random commercials and things you find in the world.
Oh dear, I am a tourist, and it appears that I'm lost in the woods.
So that's been pretty cool. I definitely recommend checking out. That one's pretty cool. And there's also a weapon upgrade you're able to get by finding manuscript fragments, which are found in collectible lunchboxes. So I'll show you guys what it does.
Saga had lost count of how many shots she'd fired, but she was sure it must have been more than she had in her magazine. And yet, she'd not run out of ammo. As if the magazine had grown to fit more bullets. She fired again.
So now I upgraded my gun, which is cool. So all this takes place in this mine world. Alan Wake has his own, which is his writer's room, which he has all his collectibles and stuff seen there. There are 113 collectibles in the game, so I highly recommend using a collectible guide, which I'm currently using one, and I will leave a link for the different guides that they have available.
The image of the witch in the sign. Saga addressed the witch. A smudged line on the heart. The second part recited from memory. I brought you the heart, witch. Show me the terror. Saga pushed the heart through the hole in the sign.
So it's cool, you can then go into more detail.
The victim was one of their own. FBI Special Agent Robert Nightingale, gone missing here 13 years ago. That way it's sudden.
So I just want to show you that. So you can go in and get more detail, because like when you pick up a page, it just gives you kind of like a brief description of it, but it doesn't go into as much detail as you would going in through it here. So now we're going to go to where we're supposed to go to and encounter our first enemy. Now I do have to let you guys know that this is not a super quick game when it gets into action. I didn't see any action until almost 3 hours in, and that's because of my own playstyle. You know, I was really exploring, taking my time to find things and hunt down for collectibles and stuff. But it's not going to be as quick and into action like the original Alan Wake. You know, in the first couple minutes you were like right into combat. That's not how this game is. It's a lot slower paced. But you still have your lights you can go into to heal, and you still have to fight with the take-it enemies like you did in the original Alan Wake, where you have to burn the darkness off of them before you fight them. But there's new combat in this that's different from the original Alan Wake. And so sometimes enemies will have
A monster, like Nightingale.
will have a red spot on their front or back, on their body in different areas, and that is a super weak spot, but you can exploit to take them down. So very handy to pay attention to that, and make sure you burn off the darkness. Now what's different from this one in the original Alan Wake is the enemies don't disappear like they did in the original Alan Wake, so you can see the body stays there. And their darkness shield can actually regenerate if you leave them alone for too long. So that's something to be aware of, like, you know, making sure you understand in combat. I also recommend exploring too when you're going to like main objectives, is look everywhere you can, because you can find additional supplies that aren't just known around. Just found an inventory upgrade. So you can see in your inventory menu here, you know, it's just like in Resident Evil games where you only start with so many slots and certain weapons and items take up more space. So as you play through, you want to find these upgrades, and that's with dealing with the collectibles and stuff. You don't have to, but I highly recommend getting the collectibles because it makes the game a lot easier, gives you new and more stuff, also helps you unlock achievements and stuff, so I highly recommend doing that. Really helps the game. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. You know, it's just really awesome giving a dual game here. You have two protagonists to play as. You have Saga, who's in the real world, and then you have Alan Wake, who's in the dark place. And he's able to manipulate the dark place since it's not a reality, and he's able to change his environment and stuff. So give me a second here. I'll pause and load an Alan Wake area so you guys can see a little bit difference in the play style and stuff. Alright, now I loaded my most recent save where I'm playing as Alan Wake. And I'm in a little save room here. You can bring up the map. So I found these maps. I started out here in this studio, and then I made it out to this city area. And now I'm trying to solve stuff there. And so like I said, this is where his room is, his writer's room. So here's his draft board. There's these words of power for him to find other collectibles that can give you enhancements and stuff. I recommend getting those. His television stuff, too, you can find, which is pretty cool. You can watch. Again, you can access the radio and stuff like that. And as you play through the game, you'll unlock more stuff. But really cool stuff there. Now, you'll notice, something I noticed, too, that not a lot of people notice at times, like, since she's a FBI, you know, a police officer, you know, federal officer, you know, those cops hold a flashlight different than a civilian. See, Alan Wake holds it like a civilian, where it's down, you know, like waist level, where a cop holds it up above their head, which is a kind of a detail you'll see in this game, which I think is pretty cool. And in this world has shadow people you have to be careful of. And some of them will leave you alone, but some of them are will actually attack you if you're not careful. You have to be careful not to disturb some of them, because if you do, they'll start attacking you and can sneak up on you, so you have to be really careful not to disturb them the best you can. But sometimes combat is unavoidable. Other times, you might want to run because there's not an infinite supply of bullets or health things, so sometimes it does pay to run. There's also boss battles in this game. I've died a few times. Some of them are pretty crazy and intense, but I've had a lot of fun. It's been a fair challenge here playing it on normal, which is what I highly recommend. I'll pause again real quick just in case I can find some combat to show you guys with Alan Wake. Alright guys, and there's also a cool voice actor that I want you guys to hear I'm about to encounter, who plays a couple different characters in the game.
Is this the way it was on the page?
What the hell? Oh, hey. We met at Door's show.
Alan Wake, the writer. I'm Alex Casey. I'm looking into a murder.
Come on, what is this?
There's a piece of evidence, a manuscript of a novel. You wouldn't know anything about it?
A manuscript? What manuscript? I need to see it.
Rumor had it the manuscript contained the details of the murders. A murder cult was following the story to commit their gruesome acts. Was Wake their leader? Had he written it? How far would he go to create a perfect work of art? Or would he be the next victim? Stay here.
No, wait!
Alright, let me pause it guys and then we'll get to where the combat is. And now here's the interesting thing. You're able to take light sources with this lamp that he has, and it alters the layout of the world when he does that.
I needed to get back to the subway station entrance.
Which is pretty cool, so it'll open up new pathways and stuff for you by going to areas on the map that have the little, like a little lamp icon. And it'll have like a light switch there, and that'll adjust and change where you can go into. Sometimes it'll get rid of walls, or it'll put up a wall, open up doors and stuff. So now we'll go to end here with a little bit of combat.
Shit, with the alley in darkness now, restless shadows block my way.
So that shows you the combat. It's a little different than the original Alan Wake, as far as you have a little meter with your flashlight, unlike the first game where it regenerates. So you do have to adjust your playstyle a little bit from coming from the first game, but it's a really awesome game, and I highly recommend you guys check out Alan Wake 2, especially if you're a fan of the original Alan Wake like I was. You will absolutely love how awesome this game is. It's got a great story, music, great voice actors, and just a much larger game. It'll take you anywhere from 20 to 30 plus hours just to beat the main story, and that's if you kind of rush through it and don't do everything. I can see myself easily getting over 30 hours in this game, as I love to take my time and explore. Definitely you guys should play Alan Wake 2 though. Alright friends, I hope you guys enjoyed that look at Alan Wake 2. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I'm about halfway through. I'm like 17 hours into the game now, and I've been having a blast with it. I've been tracking down all the collectibles and stuff. Now what's cool is there are several guides out there that I recommend checking out one of those. There are a couple of points. Well, there's like a point of no return for each character, where you want to make sure that before you go to that point, you get all the missing collectibles you have. Otherwise, you'll have to get them when you play the game a second time in your New Game Plus mode. So just a little warning there. But just a really good game, an awesome follow-up to the original Alan Wake, and I really have enjoying the story and the horror elements and the combat and everything. Just a really fun game I definitely think you guys should check out. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Have you guys played Alan Wake 2? What have you guys been playing lately? And if you have a recommendation on a game you think I might enjoy playing, let me know, as I'm always looking for new games to play and experience. I want to thank you guys for watching. Take care. You guys have an amazing day, and Sleepy will see you next time.